Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm Kim. I'm an East Asian medical provider, and I've been practicing for over a decade. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about heart disease and, and high blood pressure. Those two things have a tendency to go hand in hand. And high blood pressure is a silent killer. What are some of the signs that you might have high blood pressure? Pressure in the head, dizziness, headaches. Those are all signs that you might have high blood pressure. You probably have all the thoughts from Western medicine on heart disease. So let's add in some additional thoughts from ancient China on heart disease. Okay, so let's get started, and let's start really simple with what you already know. You know there's 12 channels or meridians, and each one of these channels and meridians is labeled by an organ. So you have the liver channel, you have the spleen channel, you have the large intestine channel, you have the heart channel. So every organ or every meridian or channel in Chinese medicine is labeled by the organ that it's related to. And let's see, what else do you know? So when you hear people talk about these organs or meridians, you'll hear them say like, oh, my liver is blocked, or my spleen is feeling fatigued today, or something like that. And so they describe their illnesses through the channel or the meridian. Now, the heart channel and meridian, there's something unique about the heart channel and meridian. It has something that none of the other channels has. So let's talk about that, because I'm going to tell you about 5 things that the heart has, the heart channel and meridian has, that none of the other organs and meridians has. And that's what makes the heart unique. So let's see, the first thing, the heart channel has a separate organ protecting it. So it literally has another organ in front of it that is the fortifications for the heart channel to make sure that it doesn't get damaged. Now, none of the other organs has that. And that organ is the pericardium. And you're probably saying to yourself, well, we already know that in Western medicine. And you'd be right. And here's the thing, Western medicine is like 100 years old, and Chinese medicine is like 5,000 years old. So a little bit different context there. But what was happening 100 years ago in China? So 100 years ago, that was like the turn of the century. So it's around 1900, so 1850 to 1950. And at that time, we were sending, and the other large European countries were sending a lot of missionaries to China. And those missionaries would listen to China about their sciences, about their medicine, about their thoughts, their beliefs, their actions. And they would call those superstitious and backwards. And, one of the things that really comes to forefront when I see that is, when we're faced with things that we don't understand, we have a tendency to label it as backwards or superstitious. So just saying. But hey, tell you what, let's get back to the heart channel. And so what else does it have that the other ones don't have? Well, you know what? In order to communicate with the heart, you have to go through fortifications, you have to go through attendants. You cannot talk to the heart channel directly, or you cannot talk to the organ, the heart organ, directly. Now that's different, huh? And you can see that with pericardium. And so the heart is one of the few channels and organs that has all its own attendants. And then what else do we have? Well, the heart channel is your insight. Well, let me go a different way first. The heart channel is consciousness. So, I did an episode on judgment, which talked about consciousness, and it related it to like the limbs and the organs and how consciousness works in those areas. But I didn't talk to you about where's your consciousness of you as a whole being? Where does that exist? Well, that exists in your heart channel. So, in Buddhism, in Taoism, they kind of talk about, life, that it's this dream. And so I'm going to use that to explain insight. So the body dreams of its existence here, but it can't understand it. You know how if you have a dream and you're like, wonder what that meant? And you really wish that there was somebody that you could go talk to that was a dream interpreter that would tell you what that meant. Well, that's what the heart does. It interprets your dreams for you, and it applies meaning to it, and it gives you a blueprint for what that means. So when you experience it another time, you apply that blueprint to it. So that's what I mean when I say that the heart has insight. It's your dream interpreter for the rest of the body. The rest of the body dreams, but it cannot put meaning to it. The only way it can put meaning to it is if it goes to that special person who can interpret dreams, which is the heart, and the heart will give you meaning. And then the last, the most important thing of the heart is it's the emperor of the body. So it's the ultimate say, it's the ruler, it gives direction, it gives final judgment, final edicts on everything that happens in the body. Okay, there you have it. 5 really special functions that only happen with the heart. And what are they? It has its own fortifications. You cannot talk to it directly. You have to go through intermediaries. And it provides insight, consciousness. And the last thing is, it's the emperor of the body. So with all that information, let's take that because that's really special. And I bring that up because that's going to give you some insight that when you get to heart disease, it's pretty special. So let's talk some more about heart disease. Heart disease is really near and dear to me. And I have always wondered about, where does heart disease come from? And when I think about that, I think of James Gandolfini, right? But it's more than that for me. So when I was a teenager, I was in high school, my dad had heart disease, and he had had heart disease for a long time. And he was overworked, stressed, overweight, and he did everything that his Western medical doctor asked him to do. So, he lost the weight, he exercised, he stopped using salt, he took all his medications. And I grew up in the Midwest, and in the Midwest it snows, and it snows horribly. So you can't really exercise outside in the winter. But we lived next to a college, and you could go to the college to exercise. And so I was home for Christmas break, and my dad and I went to the college to jog around this fake track that they had going around their gym. And, I remember, watching my dad, and I thought he was in such great shape. He had lost so much weight. He was doing so much better, and he had so much more energy. I really thought he was going to live forever. And the thing is that's not what happened. He, less than 2 years later, he had a massive heart attack and died. So, for me, the thing that really hit me was that the best and brightest minds in the world, were focusing on Western medicine and had come up with all these ideas on how to overcome. I mean, for me, my thought is that medicine is about healing you. So it was that all the best and brightest minds in the world were coming together and they came up with all these solutions on how to heal you. And so it was really kind of shocking to me that he did everything that they asked, and in just 2 years, he passed. So that's why heart disease became such a question mark for me, and why, I put so much focus on heart disease. And you can query in my channel for heart, and different programs on heart and heart disease will come up to give you some ideas of what to think about if you're dealing with your heart disease. So let's talk about heart disease and where is it on the disease continuum. So, heart disease, it doesn't happen by itself. In order to have heart disease, you have to have all these other things happening before you get to heart disease. So heart disease is the end of the line. And the other thing that happens is that you have had to beat through all your fortifications. So you have had to have been under siege. Your heart has had to have been under siege for years in order to get to heart disease. And that's why I was talking about those 5 things that is special about the heart that nothing else has. One of them is it has fortifications. And the other thing that it has is, in order to even get to the heart, you have to go through somebody. You can't just talk to the heart directly. You have to go through somebody. So in order to get to heart disease, you had to tear down all those fortifications. You have had your heart under siege for years as you beat down all the fortifications that are there to protect your heart. Heart disease on the disease continuum is the end of the line. It's not the beginning of the line. Acid reflux is like the beginning of the line. Heart disease is like the end of the line. So there's a lot of things that are hurting by the time you get to heart disease. So let's look at some of the things that you might want to think about when you're putting together your action plan to address your heart disease. Okay, so first, in Chinese medicine, disease is not just the physical result. It's not just that, you've had a heart attack. Disease includes your mental outlook, it includes your emotional outlook, and then it includes your physical outlet. So it includes a lot of things. And so when you're talking about heart disease in Chinese medicine, think about your emotions. Okay, so, and sit down and take a really honest inventory of your emotions. And, is there an emotion, or is there an emotional state that you're experiencing a lot? And some of the common ones are stress, right? Or anxiety, or that you just keep on thinking the same thing over and over, or depression. So if you have this emotional state that you feel a lot, one of the things is to think about that and to address that. And, I know changing how we think and how we view the world, not easy. And it isn't easy, but, you can do it. And I have some episodes on meditation that really help you calm your mind so you can get here and now. And, if you can feel the difference between here and now and what you're thinking, that's going to give you a huge start that will enable you to change how you think. I have a video out here on presence, and you might want to try that video as just a starter to think about some of the things that you might want to look at to change how you think in the world. If we look at the world today, there's like 7 billion people on the planet. And in those 7 billion people, how many are exactly alike? None. Absolutely none. Every one of those 7 billion people is a unique individual. So to think that one size fits all, and that's one of my concerns when I deal with Western medicine, is they always give this one size fits all. And somehow everybody is supposed to be able to get treated and healed with the same thing. And that doesn't make any sense to me when we have 7 billion people that are all unique and that they're all different and that their disease comes from all sorts of different reasons, it doesn't make sense to me that it's a one size fits all. So when you're thinking about putting together your plan to help address your heart disease, well, realize that there isn't a one size fits all, because you're unique. You're different than 7 billion different people in the world. So there is not another person out there that's you. That's just amazing. Can you imagine 7 billion people? I can't even count that high. I can't even fathom that kind of number. So you're unique, and your action plan is justified in being unique. Cutting out salt, reducing your fats, taking cholesterol medicine, that's just not going to cut it with heart disease, because again, heart disease is the end of the line, and every other organ has participated in weakening so that things can get through to the heart. So everybody's weak, and you need to have a complete action plan that helps you address each of the areas of weakness, and not just kind of willy-nilly shotgun a few things for your weakness. And so that I would recommend that you talk with an East Asian medical provider, because that's how they focus on life, is helping you figure out which one of your organs are weak, which one you should focus on first, and helping you strengthen those again. So think about putting together a comprehensive health plan to recover each of the different components of your health. This is probably the most important thing, especially for older adults that are like 50 or so, because at 50 you still think you're 20. And so exercise. Now, if you have heart disease, you're on blood pressure meds, so your blood pressure is not supposed to be spiking up. Exercise. Really be careful with your exercise, because you don't want to spike your blood pressure. And so think about walking. Think about a nice, steady, detailed walk. So as long as you're on blood pressure medicines to manage your blood pressure, it's kind of risky business to do something that increases your blood pressure. Okay, now here's the last thing, energy in the world. We know from physics that energy does not disappear, it just goes someplace else. And that's something to think about when we take medicines, when we take pharmaceuticals. Usually the goal of pharmaceuticals is to block something. So to block an energetic reaction in the body that the body wants to do. Well, by blocking that, the energy didn't go away. The energy has to go someplace else. And, my internal thoughts is that's probably why we have side effects, is the energy just went someplace else. And if that's true, if energy doesn't go away and we're blocking an energetic reaction, and that energetic reaction is just going someplace else, the risk is that we're causing more damage in different areas of our body. And sure, it allows us to continue doing what we're doing, but not really. So there's a few things about putting together your action plan. There's a few things to think about and to keep in mind when you're putting in your action plan to deal with your heart disease. One is emotions. How do you address your emotions? And what's really important about emotions is in Chinese medicine, emotions are the root of all disease. So if you can change your emotion, you change your disease. So emotions are really, really critical to helping you overcome your heart disease. And then what was the second thing? Oh yeah, the second thing, 7 billion unique individuals in the world. So there's nobody like you. You are unique. So creating a unique plan for your heart disease makes sense, because there's not another person in the world like you. And then let's see, what else do we have? We know that emotions are the root of all disease. Oh, that you need a comprehensive plan. So the thought of oh, cut out salt, reduce your fats. That does not cut it with heart disease. And so in order to put together a valid plan that helps rebuild organs, you know, talk to an East Asian medical provider. That's what they specialize in, is helping you rebuild and re-strengthen your body by organ channel. So go to them, get help, have them help you put together a plan so that you can overcome your heart disease and live a more vibrant life. And then the last thing is energetics. And you know, more and more we're starting to question the idea of pharmaceuticals, and there's a huge group of us that, you know, it's not that I'm against pharmaceuticals, it's that I'm going to consider those as my last resort, not my first resort. And, you know, and that's a tough one, because growing up we were taught that, oh, pharmaceuticals could do everything and they actually fix things, but they don't. You know, now we know that they don't, you know, and we're in our 50s and now we know that they don't, and we're like, oh, man, dang it, somebody lied to me and took me for a ride. So, you know, here we are, and we're like, okay, now how do I get back to being healthy so I can have a vibrant, active life with my grandchildren? Because I want to see them grow up, you know? So we kind of got a little bit taken to the bank with that. And the thing is, you know, pharmaceuticals, they usually block an action, and an action is energy. And if energy is blocked, it's not like it goes away, it just goes someplace else. And that seems to be what's happened. And, you know, you have a tendency to get sicker on pharmaceuticals, and you get more side effects, and you get more pills. And so that energy does not disappear, it just goes someplace else. So if you can put in an action plan that helps you overcome some of your medications, then you're going to be in a much better place at helping you with your heart disease. Okay? So that's the deal. That's the episode for this week, all about heart disease and thinking about how to put together your plan to help you overcome your heart disease, because you can do it, and you will be able to do it so much more effectively if you have a bigger plan that's about you and not about everybody else. Okay, you guys, thank you for coming out to the channel, and I will see you on the other side.